Welcome to Intuitive Astrology with Molly McCord. Thank you so much for joining me today as we voyage through the week ahead, looking at the astrological energies of June 1st until June 8th, as we officially welcome in June. And it begins with some very interesting energy. It actually begins with feeling like something's at a standstill, feeling like you're supposed to just sit in something, be with it, understand it more, and then the energy is going to eventually loosen up and move forward. So we'll be talking about that in today's show. As always, I hope that this podcast brings you understanding or messages that resonate with your life, your journey, where you're at. And I hope it also supports you in trusting yourself even more, trusting your energy, trusting what's speaking to you, trusting your own intuition, and essentially elevating you to higher parts of your own consciousness. Astrology is a wonderful language. It's a very wise energy tool. It helps us hone in on particular themes and cycles we're moving through to connect to a bigger perspective of it all, as well as to consciously work with the energies at an individual level. And that's essentially what we do in this podcast is we look at what is happening up there in the cosmic weather, and then how is it affecting us? How are we feeling it? How are we honoring it and opening up to it? Astrology shows us the timing of these cycles. So when we're able to step into working with the timing, we can even give ourselves a break, meaning we can feel into something and understand this is simply where it's at, or this is simply what is happening. This is the pace, or this is the tempo or progress of the energies. And to remind ourselves it's not personal, to remind ourselves to detach, to remind ourselves that we're part of a much bigger cosmic ecosystem, that we are interacting with so many energies all the time, and that we are in our power, our light, and our choices around what we're feeling and sensing, and how these energies can support us in navigating through our individual journeys. So as we kick off this first week in June, the energies are actually quite calm and quiet because we don't have a lot of transiting planets interacting with each other. Meaning when the planets are creating aspects to each other, they're in communication. They're having conversations about their energies, their intentions, and their themes. And so over this next week, we don't have a lot of those conversations going on. In that way, it is quieter. The energy can feel like it's calmer in some regards. It can help you ground into what's in front of you. Perhaps it could even feel like there's things that are right in front of you that you have energy, time, and space to take care of. Now, this is a week where we're going to see Mercury station direct at 26 degrees of Taurus. That happens on June 2nd and 3rd, depending on your location. Then on June 4th, Saturn stations retrograde at 25 degrees of Aquarius. And this is an energy signature that is going to last into the middle of next week, meaning we have Mercury stationing direct at 26 degrees and then just hanging out at 26 degrees of Taurus at the same time that Saturn is stationing retrograde at 25 degrees of Aquarius and just hanging out at that degree point for actually most of June. So what this shows us is that there's actually a square going on between this Mercury in Taurus with this Saturn in Aquarius, both at a standstill, both just hanging out, and they're kind of in this locked position. The energy could feel tight, it could feel locked, it could feel like nothing is budging. And so that's an interesting thing to tap into right now because our minds could feel heavy. That square from Saturn applies an intensity, a pressure, almost like, how am I going to figure this out? What do I need to figure out? What do I need to do next? There could be a challenge or a burden There could be something weighing on you mentally. You could feel the energy is stuck or stagnant. You might feel it in your throat chakra. You might feel like this week you're looking to say something, but the energy feels too heavy. Or maybe there's something you want to get out of your head, move it through, and yet you don't know what words to use. And so there's this energy that can feel that it has this intensity to it, as well as a heaviness. And what's interesting is that because each of these planets, Mercury and Saturn, are changing direction, they're each moving through their own contemplation process. And then they're also interacting with each other. It could feel like something's not connecting. Something isn't lining up just yet. And because Saturn is about our 3D reality, about our world, the reality of our world, you could feel even like there's things that you're ready to get going on. You want it to move forward, but then something could be stuck. Some part of the project, the idea, whatever it might be, it could just feel like you're meant to just sit with it. And that is the universe bringing our attention to what we are contemplating, what we are sitting with, bringing our attention to what is going on in our minds. Is there something that you're trying to solve, something you're wanting to figure out, a solution, idea, even just your self-expression? There could be something about this week where your self-expression might feel like it wants to retract, it wants to be internalized. There could be things that you're not quite ready to say yet. And that would be something to trust. Trust to slow down here. Trust wherever those communications are feeling stuck or where something isn't moving, because the energy is very intentional, but it does have outlets. It does have ways to move the energy. Now, even though this Mercury stations direct and is making a square to Saturn stationing retrograde, Mercury is also in communication with Neptune in Pisces at 25 degrees and with Pluto retrograde in Capricorn at 28 degrees. Now, these connections to the two outer planets, Neptune and Pluto, show us that there's a bigger picture unfolding. There's more at play here. There's more that we're sensing and feeling. There's bigger energy cycles moving through us, but it could feel like you still don't see it yet. You're still not sure what it's about, what it's meant to be. How do I work with this? How do I figure it out? I've talked in previous shows about the significance of this Mercury right now, because this Mercury at 26 degrees of Taurus is also highlighting the Taurus lunar eclipse from last November. It's also working with the energy of the last Scorpio lunar eclipse that we just had, which was at 25 degrees of Scorpio, but the sun was at 25 degrees of Taurus, and they were interacting with this Saturn as well, in addition to Neptune and Pluto. So essentially we have these three outer planets, Saturn, Neptune, Pluto, interacting with this Mercury in Taurus, wanting us to see things differently, wanting us to make some shifts in our perceptions, helping us to open up to a bigger picture that we maybe didn't identify or see previously. But it could be a challenge because it feels like we're looking for something in our reality that hasn't arrived yet. And that could be part of this standstill, where it's like you're feeling something, you're seeing something, maybe you're getting visions, maybe there's messages coming through, maybe there's things you're sensing, or you're like, I know this is coming through, I know this is on its way. Where is it? What's happening? Why isn't this manifesting? And that would be related to the square to Saturn. And Saturn is about the timing of something. So it's not quite time for something, even though there's been a lot we've been processing and moving through and sensing. It could feel like your mind has had so much it's been moving through that it can be hard to know, well, what is real if I'm feeling all this or sensing all this, but nothing's changing in my reality, nothing's shifting in the world I'm experiencing. It feels like this Mercury stationing direct is now open to receiving more of these cosmic downloads from Neptune and Pluto, and to trust them, to trust what's coming through even when you can't see it yet, to not give too much weight or energy to the 3D, to what is there or what's not there. There's something about elevating this Mercury to a higher point that is really important. This Mercury is also working with the Pleiadian star system, and it's activating more of our cosmic intelligence. It feels like we're accessing more information and streams of light, streams of energy from other sources outside of our solar system that are here to benefit us, to evolve us, to support us in looking at what we're ready to see differently. So this is a powerful, transformative time. There could be something that comes up in your life or simply within yourself that feels like a challenge because it's asking you to see something differently. It's asking you to expand your mental perceptions. It's asking you to step away from what you assumed or expected. It's also asking you to broaden what you thought or what you perceived. And it feels like with that Mercury in Taurus, there's things that we just rely on, that we count on, that is normal or natural, things that we look for that provide very clear evidence, very clear information, because that Taurus energy is basically what you see is what you get. If I can see it, if I can touch it, it's real. If I don't see it, if I don't touch it, it's not real. That would be a simple way of understanding the Taurus energy. But here we have the universe bringing in things that we can't even see yet, things that we can't touch yet. And how well are you trusting that and opening up to it? It feels like this has the potential to bring in the new manifestations that we're not seeing yet, but it also feels like we could feel doubt, uncertainty, almost like it's never going to happen. Or why would I even trust this? Why would I even believe that? And that can be part of the square from Saturn, because Saturn is a reality check, but it can also be that doom and gloom energy at times too. And this is where Saturn can be very world weary, where the Saturn energy is just like, look, I've done everything I can. I'm at a standstill. I don't know what to do next. So there's energies this week that are going to come up around managing our minds, managing the messages we say to one another. And this could be a really good time to keep affirmations in front of you, to keep things in front of you that lift your energy, that connect you to the bigger purpose of it all, that remind you that even when things are at a standstill or a pause, even when you're feeling a burden or a heaviness, there's wisdom in that too. There is something to tap into and honor about all the cycles we experience, all the energies we move through. So simply asking yourself, what am I meant to see during this time with this energy? What am I meant to understand? How can I go easy on myself when I feel stuck, when I don't know the next step or the next choice, when I don't know how to figure something out? Sort of like if there's a very complicated algebra problem and you can't figure out the next step or the next part of the equation, there could be something here where we're actually meant to give ourselves a mental break and step away, because I feel like our minds could be at capacity this week. Like, I can't handle one more thing. I don't need one more email. I don't need one more person asking me to do one more thing. It's sort of like just being at that place of, I'm ready for a break. I need some mental relief. I have fatigue, decision-making fatigue, and I just want to step back. And if you can do that this week, that might be a beautiful gift for your energy. Keep in mind that these higher powers, these bigger influential energies that are coming through, have the answers, have the solutions, have an understanding of where you're at and what the next steps are. The universe knows. The universe has so many things figured out, and the universe is always connected to the quantum potentials of our lives. So you could even do some type of visualization exercise where you quiet your mind and you take a worry, a fear, a problem, a doubt, an issue, whatever it might be, you take it into the 0 point of pure potential. And you could, again, see this as a visualization where you're taking an energy, you're taking something, and you bring it to that 0 point of pure potential, and it can just blossom and open up in that energy, in that field of consciousness, and expand it beyond what you feel you have to figure out or solve. And this can just be something you practice. This can just be a new approach, maybe a new approach to an old issue. But this is where we willingly work with all of these various energy fields that are open to us and help us navigate some situations that maybe we don't know how to solve or we don't know what to do next. So again, you take it to that 0 point of pure potential, which connects you to more consciousness and more energies that are available to us. And that's where the transformation happens. That's where the energy shifts. And again, that's where you can open up to something that you didn't see before. And if you were to do this exercise, there could be something that comes through perhaps immediately or the next day that gives you an answer, that gives you an understanding. So use this intentionally over this next week. If anything is stuck or stagnant, and know that the universe always has ways to move our energy, and that some things don't have to be stuck in our minds. They don't have to be things that we're just spinning in when we work with them energetically. So Mercury stations direct at 26 degrees of Taurus, then moves ahead and will re-enter Gemini on June 13th, and then will clear the retrograde shadow on June 19th. So this Mercury picks up speed, and when he re-enters Gemini, he's in his home sign, the area of the astrological wheel where he is most in his comfort zone, and he's ready to now see things clearly, to speak, to express. There's been something that has been reprogrammed in his mind where he can see with clarity. He has new choices available to him. And there's something about this Mercury that could even feel like maybe a part of your mental spinning, anxiety, anything going on internally might feel calmer now, might feel more settled, might feel like you've worked through some things at a very deep level and you have new answers, you have new senses of what matters to you. And this is going to pick up the pace further on in June when that Mercury then interacts with Jupiter in Aries on June 20th. So after Mercury clears his shadow, he meets up with Jupiter in Aries through a sextile, and that's where things could really feel effortless, more ease, and that there's just things that are ready to go. So that can help with understanding this energy here as we move into June. Now, Saturn stations retrograde at 25 degrees of Aquarius on June 4th and will travel back to 18 degrees of Aquarius until October 23rd. So in your chart, between 18 to 25 degrees of Aquarius is the territory that Saturn is traversing and where we are reviewing some important real life circumstances, looking at what we're ready to shift and change in these particular areas of our lives and what we need to really understand, like how something is showing up. That's the domain of Saturn. Is this really working? Is this really a commitment that I can keep in my life? Saturn brings our attention to the real world matters in our lives, and we have to make choices with Saturn. Saturn wants boundaries. Saturn wants respect. Saturn wants maturity. So there's this part of our charts between 18 to 25 degrees of Aquarius where we may have to make some big decisions about what works, what doesn't work, what is something that is still important to you or not, and where you may need to be very realistic in what you're assessing and deciding, because Saturn will point out what doesn't work. This is not good enough. This is not up to standards. This is not working. This is not producing. This is not providing, because Saturn is about what are the results here. So you're looking at the results that have manifested in your life in the house that you have 18 to 25 degrees of Aquarius. You could have it between two houses. These degree points could be split between two houses in your chart. But this is a review that Saturn wants us to take seriously and make necessary changes. And in fact, this is the last time that Saturn will retrograde in Aquarius before entering Pisces in 2023. And this is Saturn in Aquarius wanting you to be on the right track for where you're going, because that Aquarius energy is about our future direction. It's about what we're aiming for, what inspires us to keep evolving and moving forward. Aquarius is the future. It's where we feel our energy is meant to go, especially if you're on the correct path for your soul mission, your soul purpose. That is also the domain of Saturn. And Saturn in Aquarius is helping more people understand their unique gifts, what you're good at, what you can create and produce in the world, what resonates with you and individually speaks to you. This is where Saturn in Aquarius can also show you what no longer connects, what's not of interest, what isn't worth your time. So there's going to be some clear choices to make during this Saturn retrograde in Aquarius, because there's something here about ensuring that you're on the right track for yourself and that you're in alignment with your soul mission and your soul purpose. Now, keep in mind, there's so many ways that can manifest. There's so many things that could be. It doesn't simply have to be an occupation or a job title. That understanding of your soul mission could connect you to the energies that you were ready to embody and experience in this lifetime that really show you more about your unique energy and why you're needed here on the planet, why you chose to take a body and be in this physical suit. And then Saturn shows us what that really looks like, what that really means in the real world, and also what that means for how we manage and take care of our energies. So starting this week until October 23rd, Saturn will be retrograde, going back to 18 degrees. And as it does so, it will have a square to Uranus in Taurus, which brings up the three squares we experienced in 2021 between Saturn and Uranus. So there could be something that you are revisiting this year, especially in October. So we're just going to jump ahead to October, especially in October, that is bringing about new choice points and new decisions that you're ready to make now that perhaps you weren't ready to make in 2021. But it's also showing you more of where that energy's at in your life, where you could be feeling another pressure, something else coming up that you want to work with or solve. This square between Saturn and Uranus is very dynamic and it's quite jittery. It's not very grounded. Like, it has this sense of, what do I do with this? And there could be something in your life that you're moving through and you're like, what do I do with this? What is the next step? How do I solve this? I can't see it. I don't know what to do. And that sometimes can create its own downward spiral. That can create the heaviness and the burden, the worry, the fear, especially when very real parts of our lives are involved. And with the Saturn in Aquarius and Uranus in Taurus, it's destabilizing parts of our lives that maybe we thought would always be there. We're getting challenges from things that we weren't expecting. There is an instability still in the mix. And I feel like this could be something else that we're expanding or opening up to that we weren't ready to see previously. So with Saturn, we always have to pace ourselves. Just manage the energy diligently. Just stay the course. Saturn can be very determined and have strong fortitude. And there's also something here where we can't rush a process. We can't rush something. And that alone could be very uncomfortable. So it feels like this Saturn retrograde that starts this week is bringing us to some bigger choice points that we're ready to make later on in October. So manage your energy responsibly. Know that you can only do so much with what you have, with what's in front of you. And also keep trusting that there are unlimited solutions to everything. There are unlimited ways that things can be solved or something can come through or a breakthrough can happen. And use the energy to go higher. Instead of feeling like you're locked in with that tension, pressure, that sense of fighting against wills, that could be something that comes up too with these fixed signs like the power of the will. Open the energy up, go higher and see what might be created from the pressure. I'm getting the image of tectonic plates. And when those tectonic plates are stuck, one of them at some point moves when another external energy shows up. And it feels like there's this mounting pressure. There could be a mounting pressure within you. Of course, we're feeling that globally, but it feels like there's something that's going to give way. And then that is when the energy is released. And when the energy is released, it's a new form of creation. So it could feel like you're in a cycle of destruction and creation all at the same time. And that's where it can feel chaotic and uncertain. That's where you can feel that pressure or things maybe not budging yet until all of a sudden it budges later on. So I guess this is just a heads up of how we could be feeling the energies. But again, something is happening and shifting gears this week that we're meant to realistically assess. And you might find yourself saying, no, I can't do this anymore. No, I don't want this anymore. No, this isn't for me anymore. No, I can't make it to the basketball game. No. Because Saturn brings in the boundaries. Saturn brings in the no's. So look at where you need to say no, either to yourself about something or to others or to something in your life, because those could be the messages that you're feeling. There could also be something, I'm getting this image of like pushing it away. You know how you try to make things work a million times? And you're like, oh, I'll just try this approach, or maybe this, or what about that? There's something here where you could just have a realistic assessment of, this is as much as I can do. I can't do one more thing. It's going back to feeling like you're at capacity. And then you need to start saying no, or there's things that you have to say no to that you've been putting off or avoiding. I feel like the universe is going to bring us some very clear messages this week around our energy boundaries. And it could be something that you've already been aware of. But with Mercury stationing direct, you could be sitting with, how do I say this? How do I put this out there? How do I communicate my truth? And maybe that's something to just sit with. And that doesn't have to be a no necessarily. That could be something that you want to express, that you've been thinking about, thinking through, and now you have more clarity. It just feels like there is a need to be very honest with ourselves around what we need, what we want, what we can handle right now, and to stop expecting so much from ourselves. And maybe that's even something that we're assessing. It's like, wow, I am worn out, or I'm tired of thinking about this, or I don't want this in my life anymore, or I want these projects to be completed. I want these ideas to be done. I mean, there's something here that could show you where you have that mental exhaustion and where you're realizing what you can and can't do. So we're realizing our own limitations, and we're meant to honor that. We're meant to trust that. That's a beautiful gift from the universe, to understand that, to understand I can't do anymore. I'm at capacity. I don't want to do carpool for half the neighborhood. I don't want to do this next project at work. I mean, it could be anything in your life that you're having an understanding now of what you can and cannot do. And then it could be figuring out again how to communicate that to people, how to speak your truth, how to share that, and how to do so in a way that will be well received, how to do so with maturity, how to do so with respect for others. Also to hear. You might be hearing other people's limitations this week. You might get that email where someone says, I thought I could take this on, but I really can't. Can you delegate it to someone else? Or I thought we could join you for this vacation. Our plans have changed. We're going to have to back out. I'm so sorry. So this is part of the shifts that I feel we're moving through, in that we're realistically understanding our own energy better, what we can handle right now, and then of course, what's too much and where we have to have some very clear boundaries. And on that note, I'm now getting the message that if you need to deliver difficult news right now, if you need to say something that you're dreading or you're stressing about, if you're feeling into something and maybe you're even feeling a lot of responsibility around it, and this could even be feeling responsibility around how someone responds, where have you ever had to give someone hard news and they weren't going to take it well, or you knew it wasn't going to be an easy conversation? And of course, this could be in reverse, where you've had to receive difficult news, or someone had to say something to you that you didn't like or you didn't want to hear. It's important to remember that you are only responsible for your own energy. You're not responsible for how another receives it. You're not responsible for making everything better for them or figuring out everything that they need to do. You're not responsible for their feelings, their emotions, their energies. And that is something to remind yourself of, because if there's things that you do have to discuss or bring up, when you're focused on how others receive it, that can exponentially increase stress around some of these big conversations or exchanges. Instead, you can energetically work with something beforehand, where you could visualize having a particular conversation or giving someone information and having the space be filled with beautiful white light, having your energy or your aura filled with very beautiful light. Perhaps it's something where you're visualizing that light. Maybe you're calling in angels or beings, or something that adds in the beauty and grace to an otherwise hard conversation. You can energetically work with something beforehand that can bring you ease and comfort, that can help set the stage, so to speak, for whatever needs to be said or expressed. So that would be one way to work with the energy of this week, if this relates to anything you're going through, if it relates to anything coming up. But understand that our power is in our energetics. And how are you practicing working with energetics of any situation, of any circumstance? Because the more that we do that, the more that we can elevate a situation and transform it. And also, the more that we're aware of our own power, light, choices, and energy in every situation, as well as what is not your responsibility, what is not yours to take on. Maybe it's even sitting down and having a conversation with somebody and you visualize having a very firm fence, a fence between your energy and their energy. And it could just feel like that is a good, solid boundary to work with. That's something that you can honor, where you understand what's on your side of the fence as well as what's on their side of the fence. And that could even keep the energy clear between the both of you. So trust whatever you're feeling or sensing around this, but I feel like there's going to be something about this week and as we move into June where honoring our own energetic boundaries is going to be vital, and anything we can do to set the stage energetically can also make a difference. Now, the other main transit that we have going on this week is on June 6th, where the sun in Gemini sextiles Chiron in Aries at 15 degrees. And this Chiron is in new turf at 15 degrees of Aries. It's new territory that is opening up. And when the transiting energies move into new degree points, there can be new developments that happen in our lives. And Chiron brings up what we didn't see before in ourselves, reveals what needs to be healed, reveals where to give ourselves some TLC and some well-deserved attention, meaning there's this energy of Chiron in Aries where something could feel personal. It could feel like a bruise. It could feel like something just hurt. It could also show you where you need to do something on your own, and that could be a fear. There could be something pushing you to be more independent or more courageous, and you're wondering, can I do that? Am I capable? So Chiron always brings up some type of doubt or insecurity first for us to move through. Now, with the sun in Gemini sextiling that Chiron, this can bring up information to work with, an approach to take, something to think about or communicate, something that you're ready to share or understand in a new way. So that sextile brings in support, and the sun in Gemini wants to help you find a solution. And that is basically a roundup of the main energies of this week, where we have Mercury stationing direct, Saturn stationing retrograde, and the sun in Gemini sextiling Chiron in Aries. So we have a lot of planets not talking to each other this week. We have multiple planets in their own zone, doing their own thing. This could feel almost wild and erratic at times. It could feel like herding cats, right? Cats are going in all these different directions. How do you get them together? They're each doing their own thing. They're not on the same page. So it could feel like there's things in your lives that is disconnected, things that are just kind of existing in their own space. But this is also part of the cosmic energies we can work with, because these energies are going to be working with you more personally based on your natal chart. So this is just the general reading of the energies, whereas there could be a lot happening in your personal chart that feels very active. So for example, perhaps that sun in Gemini is bringing a lot of attention and focus to particular parts of your life. Then you're going to feel that energy strongly. We have Venus in Taurus, Uranus in Taurus. If you feel those energies working with you right now, there could be a lot that you're enjoying and experiencing in the Taurus areas of your chart. Then we also have Mars and Jupiter in Aries, and those could be bringing a lot of passion and action to parts of your chart or parts of your life, depending on how the planets are working with you more personally. So keep in mind, in this podcast, I talk about the general energies and what's happening in the collective, but there's more that could be working with you at a personal level that makes these energies even more active and dynamic than what other people might be experiencing. The following week has more activity. There are more communications and aspects happening as we move into June. So it could feel like June begins with slower energy. Again, what we discussed already about maybe a heaviness or a burden, but something that you're willing to work with, especially taking it to that 0 point of pure consciousness, taking it into that universal multidimensional energy that opens it up beyond what you could see or what you could connect to on your own. So these can be periods of time where we really practice more of these energy tools. We're working with the universe in a whole new way, and we're opening up to even more of our own tools and tricks to move through these different phases of energy. So I hope whatever comes up for you this week gives you an opportunity to remain in your power, to be clear in your boundaries and in what is true for your own energy. I hope that you're able to stand in the strength of trusting yourself, trusting what you need to say or express, trusting that throat chakra and anything that's been running through your head. Also trusting that the universe is traveling with you. The universe has unlimited solutions, unlimited potentials, unlimited miracles. And when you connect to that frequency, then things really start popping. Then you really get understandings, ideas, and solutions that maybe you wouldn't have access to otherwise. So it's a beautiful week to reinforce our partnerships with the universe and with other energy streams, to reinforce what we can work with, even when parts of our physical reality seem confusing or at a standstill. I think it's also important to affirm how everything is working for my best and highest good now. Everything that I don't know, everything I don't see, everything I'm unaware of is still working for my highest and best good now. This is the standard I require. This is how I am manifesting my energy. This is how I'm living my life. So reinforce exactly those types of empowering messages for yourself, and that can help see you through anything that comes up along this stage of the journey. For those of you who enjoy the monthly webinars that I offer, the June monthly webinar is now available. You can use coupon code Gemini to get it for only $11. And we'll take a look at the rest of the energies of June, as well as the next full moon in Sagittarius and the Cancer new moon at the end of the month. So this is a good way to get a heads up of the energies, as well as look at maybe what's coming up for you if this is your birthday month, and what energies will be prominent for you, especially in your solar return chart. So as always, thank you so much for connecting with me. It is a delight to connect with you through this world of astrology. I will be back every Monday and Wednesday for another podcast episode. Plus, I release a new video for you every Friday on YouTube. So be sure and check that out, as well as all of my playlists there on YouTube as well. You can find out more about me over at mollymccord.online. That's where you'll find all of my current astrology programs and courses, as well as business development offerings. So I'm wishing you a beautiful start to June as we continue to trust that everything is in beautiful divine order now, and that we are a part of that perfection. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you back here really soon.